Hello, my name is Elena Wallace, and today let's talk about how can we use multimedia technology tools to create a classroom where learners actually care about what they're learning, if they are doing things instead of watching, and if they are learning in ways that make sense to them. I am a foreign language teacher, so throughout this presentation, my examples will be connected to foreign language learning activities. Let's start with the Myers multimedia learning theory. This theory explains how the mind processes information better when words and pictures are paired together in the right way. It explains how to design slides, videos, and digital lessons to help learners learn instead of overwhelming them. This theory is based on three assumptions. Information is processed through two separate channels, one for the spoken or written word, and the other for the images or animation. But both channels work together to help select relevant information, organize it mentally, and connect it to prior knowledge. For example, in a foreign language classroom, instead of giving students a long list of Spanish house vocabulary words, a well-designed activity should ask students to sketch a house and label parts of it, provide a Spanish-speaking home tour, challenge students with a digital matching pair game, or create a real-world scavenger hunt around the house. Each channel has a limited working memory capability, and it only processes a small amount of information at once. Breaking down concepts, pausing, discussing, and repeating helps understand and remember material better. For example, give new words in smaller clusters, add matching images to make connections, play games that combine learning prompts and images or pictures with labels. Information stored in short-term memory fades quickly unless it can be reinforced, practiced, used, and assimilated into long-term memory storage. Learning requires active engagement that requires the learner to select, organize, and connect new information to prior knowledge. For example, combining speaking, writing, and movement. Say the object, write the object, and touch the object. Engage students in active recall games instead of memorization, and use digital tools that reinforce and review concepts. Also, use Edpuzzle platform to embed questions in videos, and use pair think share activities to connect new words to past experiences. From these assumptions, Meyer creates 12 actionable design rules for creating multimedia learning material. Each principle explains how learners select, organize, and integrate information through the visual and verbal channels. Avoid adding irrelevant information. Use arrows, bold text, and narration cues to highlight important information. Add relevant text and images nearby to reduce the effort it takes to process information. Use graphics plus narration or graphics plus text, but rarely use all three of them. Make sure the narration supports the timing of the text or image. And break information into smaller chunks to allow learners time to process. Also, pre-teach key terms and vocabulary before introducing the lesson to build a foundation. Use graphics with audio instead of graphics with on-screen text to avoid overloading the visual channel with too much information. Use words and images when possible to help understand concepts. Use vocabulary that the learner is familiar with when adding audio descriptions. Narrate your own work when possible. And finally, avoid adding unnecessary visuals. With the advancement of technology and the need to provide relevant and engaging content in an environment that caters to students' needs and interests, traditional teacher-led classrooms, where teachers are the primary source of information, are evolving. Thanks to technology and modern teaching strategies, education is shifting towards a student-centered learning, where learners are taking control over their learning process. Digital tools let learners explore at their own pace, connect with the world outside of the classroom, adjust content to individual needs, and demonstrate mastery of content in different ways. Teachers are becoming mentors who, instead of lecturing, they guide learners, offer support, help curate learning resources, clarify misunderstandings, and encourage creative thinking and independent learning. A learner centered approach is an educational strategy that focuses on the learner's active engagement with the material while considering their interests, strengths, and preferences. This approach is based on the theoretical foundations of Jean Piaget's constructivist principles and Vygotsky's social cultural theory. Jean Piaget asserts that the learner constructs knowledge through interaction with their environment as they explore, manipulate, and experiment with material. While doing that, they will make mistakes, problem solve issues, and critical think about solutions, which will reinforce knowledge schemas and help them develop a better understanding of content. Vygotsky emphasizes that learning begins with social interactions and that language and cultural norms play a big part in shaping how each person thinks and learns. He argues that for learning to be effective, educators need to use scaffolding strategies tailored to the learner's current needs and cognitive levels to help them process as they become more proficient. In a learner-centered environment, these theoretical foundations can be applied to authentic problem solving, such as investigating of cultural issues affecting the community, adding hands-on activities to test ideas, role play with a purpose to reenact mock professional scenarios, discuss ethical dilemmas, and simulations that incorporate project-based units. Multimedia tools combine text, audio, image, video, and interactive elements to make learning more engaging, flexible, personal, and relevant. Students can watch, listen, click, and explore. They can learn at their own pace, in their own styles, and make connections to real-world examples through videos, podcasts, simulations, and more. Multimedia is everywhere in classrooms, from YouTube videos and interactive slides to virtual reality field trips and podcasts. Technology is changing how we learn. Platforms like Google Slides, YouTube, Edpuzzle, and Vocaroo mix text, visual, and audio to make lessons more dynamic. They are engaging, interactive, and accessible to all types of learners, whether you're a visual, auditory, or hands-on learner. Although these tools often are effective, unreliable connections and incompatible systems make access to material difficult, causing learners to lose interest in activities. Learning management platforms deliver, track, and assess content in digital environments. They support different teaching approaches such as blending learning and flipped classrooms. They encourage collaborative work and help learners develop digital skills. While these platforms efficiently deliver content, they can feel a bit impersonal and they might not handle other types of multimedia add-ons such as videos or interactive elements. Virtual reality offers a full immersive environment, while augmented reality adds elements to the real world. In a foreign language classroom, VR teleports students to a virtual Spanish restaurant to practice Spanish without buying a plane ticket, and AR turns their desk into a Spanish menu where labels come alive when scanned. Both let students explore, experiment, and test ideas and skills in a risk-free environment. However, these tools require expensive hardware, reliable internet connection, and carefully planning to actually work. Also, poorly designed environments can lead to distractions, cognitive overload, and disorientation. Gamified learning turns study into game time. Platforms like Blooket, Kahoot, and Duolingo boost engagement with points and badges, and leaderboards that provide instant feedback, recognize achievement, encourage teamwork, and increase material retention. However, relying too much on these rewards, like badges and high scores, can reduce long term motivation and sometimes overshadow learning and mastery content. Multimedia tools and learner centered environments complement each other because both adapt to different learning styles and pacing, make content engaging, and promote retention of information. Multimedia tools offer sensory rich experiences that capture the learner's attention by combining visual and sounds to make concepts more memorable and allowing the learner to explore at their own speed. Drag and drop activities help organize content. Simulations let them practice real world decisions while connecting knowledge to situations outside of the classroom. And game elements reinforce learned skills. From the use of infographics and animations that show processes in action for visual learners, to narrations and audio that explain key concepts and highlight information for audio learners, and interactive diagrams or simulation tools for kinesthetic learners, multimedia resources supports diversity, reinforce learning through multiple formats, and encourage ownership of the learning process. Multimedia tools break down barriers in learning by providing built-in accommodations, such as closed captions on videos for learners with hearing impairments, teach text-to-speech functions for those with reading difficulties, and graphic organizers and step-by-step animations for those who need more hands-on practical learning. Additional, for those students who need to see classroom knowledge applied outside of the classroom, multimedia provides real-world examples with case study videos, documentaries, interactive webinars, social media, and real-time live feed on current events. In today's diverse classrooms, merging universal design for learning principles with technology integration creates a classroom where the learners can engage with material in meaningful ways, access content in different formats, and demonstrate knowledge using their strengths. When using universal design for learning principles to create learner-centered activities, educators must remember that learners process information in different ways. Some respond to visual displays, others to audio cues, and some through hands-on interaction. By using multiple formats, educators ensure that all learners can access and engage with the material regardless of their cognitive differences. Engagement is based on the learner's interests and motivation, so providing different ways to capture and sustain attention creates environments where the learner can make connections between content and personal experiences, resulting in stronger connections and meaningful learning. Just as learners understand information differently, they also express knowledge in unique ways. Providing choices for demonstrating understanding through diverse formats such as writing, speaking, multimedia, or creative projects provides flexibility and promotes equity, creativity, and success for all learners. When using Myers' principles, we are reminded that multimedia is most effective when it helps the learner focus on essential content. So removing unnecessary information, breaking content into smaller chunks, and matching visuals and audio in meaningful ways reduces cognitive loads and helps with the retention of material. Pairing relevant visual and audio elements helps maintain the learner's interest and their connection to the material, which is a key element in engaging the learners in learner-centered activities. The idea that learners understand and remember things better when it's presented visually and verbally supports the principle of dual coding. It reinforces the idea that multimedia materials should be designed to engage both visual and auditory channels, helping the learners create mental images of the words, between the words and visuals to better understand content. Multimedia tools support adaptive learning systems by personalizing content based on the learner's needs, progressions, and learning styles. Learners receive material that matches their skills and can be adjusted in real time to accommodate both progress and challenges, ensuring content remains engaging but not too overwhelming. These systems also adjust pacing, difficulty level, and instructional formats so learners can receive targeted and meaningful feedback that supports differentiated learning styles. This approach creates personalized learning pathways that empower the learner to take ownership of their learning journey. Effectively integrating multimedia tools into student driven learning isn't always easy. Educational institutes often face technical and teaching challenges. As far as technical barriers, all computers, projectors, and software that are no longer compatible with modern multimedia resources make it difficult to provide interactive content or use adaptive tools. These outdated systems reduce the effectiveness of the learning material that heavily relies on technology for real time engagement. Inconsistency or slow internet makes it difficult to use real time collaborative platforms and tools. Also, without stable connectivity, multimedia resources such as videos, animations, and online assessments become frustrating or unusable. Budget limitations prevent educational institutions from upgrading their infrastructure system or purchasing licenses for multimedia software, which limits educators' access to tools and resources that can be used to create learner centered activities. The digital divide refers to the gap between students who have access to personal devices and reliable high speed internet and those who do not. This gap limits learners' participation in digital assignments and online collaborative projects, leading to disparities in digital literacy skills among learners. As far as teaching philosophy and instructional barriers, many educators are accustomed to traditional lecture based instruction, so adopting learner centered approaches with new tools disrupts things and creates resistance. Either because they feel overwhelmed, lack confidence in their implementation, or are concerned with student engagement and frustration with new methods, they fall back on reliable traditional methods of teaching, limiting opportunities for active student driven learning. Even when technology is available, if there are no support systems for troubleshooting problems or help implement new hardware or software products, classroom teachers become frustrated or discouraged and are not willing to use classroom time to try out new methods or materials. Inadequate professional development that focus on how to use technology instead of how to teach with it fails to prepare educators on how to align technology with active learning and differentiating techniques. Standardized testing, rigid curriculum, and the prioritization of content over interactive student-driven activities makes implementing student-centered environments difficult and time-consuming. Additionally, aligning curriculum standards with multimedia and technology-enhanced strategies is challenging, and educators often feel uncertain about integrating these digital tools into their daily routines. Tools like AI assistants, adaptive learning systems, and smart classrooms are already changing how educators teach and how learners access material. Emerging technologies like AI tutors, machine learning, the Internet of Things, IoT, and the development of smart campuses will continue transforming the future of education. In future classrooms, artificial intelligence will continue to enhance existing educational systems by making intelligent tutoring programs and automated assessments and feedback tools a part of the classroom routine. They will also continue to improve accessibility tools that will support teachers in designing high quality, relevant, adaptable, and engaging learning experiences. Machine learning is a branch of AI that uses data analytics to adapt and modify content to individual needs. This responsive technology analyzes learners' preferences and behaviors and provides recommendation on the right content. It also adjusts the difficulty level of lessons and assessments and creates dynamic learning paths based on goals. The Internet of Things is a network of connected physical devices that exchanges data with each other. These tools, such as tablets, sensors, smartboards, and wearable technology, can connect real time data on student engagement, attention, physical movement, participation, and collaboration. This data can be used to create early intervention strategies, automate routine tasks, improve efficiency, and enhance teacher student interaction by allowing teachers to focus on personalized instruction and student support. Smart Campuses is an environment that connects digital tools and smart devices across a school or university setting. These technologies work together to create more engaging, inclusive, and responsive learning environments, while enabling real time alerts, monitoring, and communication throughout the environment of education. When we combine universal design for learning principles with research based multimedia design principles, we are not just using technology. We are creating experiences that empower the learners to take ownership of their learning. We are meeting all learners' needs with different ways to engage and show understanding, and we're reducing cognitive load by cutting out extras and focusing attention on what is important. As we move towards the future, educators need to understand that just adding new technology to a classroom doesn't work. It's not about the gadgets, it's about designing learning experiences that spark genuine curiosity, that get them actively involved and challenge them to think deeply and critically to solve real problems in their communities. Because ultimately, our goal is to develop lifelong learners who ask questions and create innovative solutions to solve real world problems. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation. Have a wonderful day.